My name is Claudette Washington, and I'm 70 years old. I raised 4 children by myself after my husband died when I was 35. I worked 3 jobs, sacrificed everything, and made sure all my children graduated college and had good lives. I thought I'd done everything right. I thought my children loved and respected me. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the day I walked into my son's house unannounced and heard him say 5 words that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. She'll never know, trust me. I was standing in the hallway, about to call out and let him know I'd arrived, when I heard his voice coming from the kitchen. He was talking to someone on the phone, and the way he said those words, so casual, so confident, so dismissive, made me freeze. She's old, man. She doesn't pay attention to stuff like that anymore. We'll just handle it and she'll never know the difference. I stood there in that hallway, my hand still on the door I'd just closed behind me, and I felt the world tilt. My son, my firstborn, my baby boy who I'd sacrificed everything for, was scheming about something. Something he was deliberately hiding from me. And he was so sure I'd never find out. But here's what he didn't know. Here's what he had no idea about as he stood in that kitchen, laughing with whoever was on the other end of that phone. I already knew. I'd known for 3 weeks. And what I was about to do was going to change everything. But before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button. Click it. Then smash that like button too, because this story is about to show you what happens when people underestimate a grandmother who's lived through things they can't even imagine. Turn on those notifications, that bell icon, so you never miss stories like this. Real stories about betrayal, about family, about what happens when the people you trust most think you're too old to notice what they're doing. And drop a comment right now. Tell me where you're watching from. What city? What state? What country? I need to know who's here with me today, because what happened to me is happening to elderly people everywhere. And I need you to witness this so you can protect yourself and the people you love. Now, let me take you back. Let me tell you how I ended up standing in my son's hallway, listening to him plot against me, thinking I'd never find out. To understand that moment, you need to understand my relationship with my son Marcus. Marcus is my oldest child, 45 years old now. I have 4 children, Marcus, then my daughter Denise, who's 43, my son Kenneth, who's 40, and my youngest, my daughter Patricia, who's 37. All my children are successful. All of them went to college. All of them have good jobs, nice houses, families of their own. I'm proud of all of them. But Marcus was always special. Not because I loved him more, I loved all my children equally, but because he was my first, the one who made me a mother, the one I learned everything with. When my husband Jerome died in a construction accident, Marcus was 10 years old. I remember him standing at his father's funeral, trying so hard to be strong, trying to be the man of the house at 10 years old. "Don't worry, Mama," he'd said to me. "I'll take care of you." And in his own way, he tried. He helped with his younger siblings. He got a job at 15 to help with bills. He was responsible, reliable, mature beyond his years. When he got a full scholarship to college, I cried with pride. When he graduated with honors and got a job at a prestigious accounting firm, I threw him a party. When he married his wife Brenda and had 3 beautiful children, I felt like all my sacrifices had been worth it. Marcus was doing well, making good money, living in a beautiful house in the suburbs, driving a nice car. He was everything I'd hoped he'd be. About 5 years ago, Marcus came to me with a proposal. "Mama, Brenda and I have been talking. We want you to move in with us." I was surprised. I liked my independence. I had my own small house that was paid off, my own routine, my own life. "Why would I do that?" I asked. "Because you're getting older. We worry about you living alone. And we have that big house with plenty of room. You could have your own suite, your own privacy, but we'd be there if you needed anything." "I appreciate the offer, baby, but I'm fine where I am." "Mama, you're 65 years old. What if you fall? What if you get sick? We'd feel better knowing you were with us." I thought about it. It was sweet that he was concerned. Let me think about it, I said. Over the next few months, Marcus kept bringing it up. So did Brenda. Mom, we really want you to come live with us, Brenda would say. The kids would love having Grandma around all the time. Finally, I agreed. Not because I needed to, but because it seemed to mean so much to them. I sold my house. It wasn't worth much, maybe $85,000, and moved into Marcus and Brenda's house. They set me up in a suite on the first floor. My own bedroom, my own bathroom, even a small sitting area. It was nice, comfortable. And for the first year, everything was good. I helped with the grandkids. I cooked dinner sometimes. I paid Marcus $500 a month for expenses, my way of contributing to the household. I had my Social Security and my small pension from the hospital where I'd worked for 30 years. It wasn't much, but it was enough for my needs. Then, about 3 years ago, things started to change. Small things at first. Marcus started asking me questions about my finances. Mama, how much do you get from Social Security each month? Mama, what about your pension? How much is that? Do you have any savings? Any investments? I answered honestly. I had nothing to hide. I got $1,800 a month from Social Security, another $600 from my pension, and I had about $12,000 in savings from selling my house and being careful with my money over the years. That's it, Marcus had said, sounding surprised. That's all you have. That's all I need, I'd replied. But I noticed he seemed disappointed. Around that same time, Brenda started making comments. Mom, you know that $500 you pay us each month. It doesn't really cover your expenses. Food, utilities, everything you use. It costs us a lot more than that. Oh, should I pay more? Well, we don't want to burden you, but yes, it would help. So I increased my contribution to $800 a month. Then a few months later, Marcus sat me down for a talk. Mama, we need to discuss your future planning. What do you mean? What happens if you get sick? If you need care? Do you have long-term care insurance? No, I figured Medicare would cover what I need. Medicare doesn't cover everything. Nursing homes, assisted living, those things cost thousands of dollars a month. We need to make sure you're prepared. I'm not planning on going to a nursing home. Nobody plans it, Mama, but it happens, and we need to make sure your affairs are in order. He convinced me to meet with a financial advisor, someone from his firm. The advisor recommended I set up a trust, put all my assets in it, name Marcus as the trustee. That way, if something happens to you, everything is already organized. No probate, no complications. Marcus can handle everything. It sounded reasonable. Marcus was an accountant. He was good with money. Why wouldn't I trust him to handle my affairs? So I signed the papers. My savings, all $12,000 of it, went into a trust with Marcus as trustee. My Social Security and pension checks started being direct deposited into an account Marcus set up for me. I'll manage it, Mama. Make sure all your bills get paid. Make sure you have what you need. And for a while, it seemed fine. Marcus would give me $200 every week in cash for my personal expenses. If I needed anything else, I'd ask and he'd get it for me. But slowly, things started to change. The $200 a week became $150. Then $100. We're trying to save money, Mama, tighten the budget. When I asked for extra money for something, a birthday gift for one of my other children, a new pair of shoes, Marcus would sigh like I was being unreasonable. Again, Mama, didn't I just give you money last week? That was for groceries and personal items. This is different. I'll see what I can do. Money's tight right now. But money didn't seem tight. Marcus and Brenda were still buying new cars, taking vacations, renovating their house. Just not spending money on me. I started to feel like a burden. When I mentioned it to my daughter Denise, she was concerned. Mama, how much money do you have? In your own name? I don't know exactly. Marcus handles all that now. That doesn't sound right. You should have access to your own money. Marcus says it's better this way, organized, managed properly. Mama, I think you should get a statement. See exactly what's in that trust. But when I asked Marcus for a statement, he got defensive. Why, don't you trust me? Of course I trust you. I just want to see how things stand. Everything's fine, Mama. Don't worry about it. I'd still like to see a statement. I'll get you one, soon. He never did. 3 weeks ago, I was in my room when I overheard Marcus and Brenda arguing in their bedroom. Their room was right above mine, and they didn't realize how sound traveled through the vents. We can't keep doing this, Brenda was saying. She's going to figure it out eventually. She won't. She doesn't understand any of this financial stuff. She trusts me. But what if Denise, or one of the others, starts asking questions? They won't, and even if they do, everything is legal. I'm the trustee. I can spend the trust money however I see fit for her care and well-being. Spending it on our kitchen renovation isn't for her care. She lives here. Improvements to the house benefit her too. My heart started pounding. They were using my money, the money from my trust, for their own expenses. What about the Social Security and pension? Brenda asked. How much longer can we keep taking that? As long as we need to. She signed the power of attorney. Legally, I can manage all her finances, and she gets enough cash each week. It's not like she's suffering. I sat there in shock, listening to my son and daughter-in-law discuss how they were stealing from me. Because that's what it was, theft. They were taking my income, putting it in an account I couldn't access, giving me a small allowance, and using the rest for themselves. Over the next 3 weeks, I did some investigating. I called my bank, the one where my old accounts used to be. They confirmed that my Social Security and pension were being deposited into an account I couldn't access. I contacted Social Security. They told me the deposits were going to an account under Marcus's name, with me listed as a beneficiary. I talked to my other children. Denise, Kenneth, and Patricia, told them what I'd discovered. They were furious. Mama, that's financial elder abuse, Denise said. You need to report him. He's my son. I can't. He's stealing from you. He's using your trust in him to fund his lifestyle. Kenneth did some calculations. Based on my income and how little I was getting each week, Marcus had probably taken over $40,000 from me over the past 3 years. $40,000. My children wanted me to call the police immediately. But I had a different plan. Because I wanted Marcus to confess. I wanted him to admit what he'd done. I wanted to hear the truth from his own mouth. So I set a trap. I called Marcus and told him I'd received a notice from Social Security saying there was a problem with my account. What kind of problem? He asked, his voice tense. I don't know. They want me to come in. They said something about my benefits not being deposited correctly. That's impossible. I'll handle it. No, they specifically said I need to come in. Can you drive me tomorrow? Tomorrow's not good for me, Mama. Then I'll take the bus. No, let me check with them first. Make sure it's really necessary. Okay, but I'm going in a few days either way. I need to make sure my money is going to the right place. I could hear the panic in his voice. Sure, Mama, I'll look into it. The next day, I told him I needed to run some errands and would be gone for a few hours. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop down the street and waited. After an hour, I drove back to the house and let myself in quietly. That's when I heard him on the phone in the kitchen. She's asking about the Social Security account. She got some notice or something. I couldn't hear the other person's response, but then Marcus said, I know, but she's old, man. She doesn't pay attention to stuff like that anymore. We'll just handle it and she'll never know the difference. That's when I knew. Not just that he was stealing from me, but that he had absolutely no respect for me. He thought I was old and stupid. He thought I'd never figure it out. He was wrong. I stood in that hallway, listening to him continue his conversation, plotting how to cover his tracks. And I made a decision. It was time to show my son exactly what happened when you underestimated Claudette Washington. I walked into the kitchen. Marcus spun around, his face going white. "Mama, I thought you were out running errands." "I came back early," I said calmly. "Who are you talking to?" "Just a colleague from work about a client, nothing important." "Really? Because it sounded like you were discussing me." "What? No, I wasn't." "You said she'll never know. Were you talking about me?" He forced a laugh. "Mama, no. Why would I be talking about you?" I looked him straight in the eye. "I don't know, Marcus. Why don't you tell me?" The color drained from his face completely. Because in that moment, he realized something. His mother wasn't as clueless as he thought. And the game he'd been playing was about to end. Very badly. For him. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Marcus stood there, phone still in his hand, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Mama, I don't know what you think you heard." "I heard enough," I said, walking further into the kitchen. "Hang up the phone, Marcus." He hesitated, then spoke into the phone. "I'll call you back." He ended the call and set the phone on the counter. "Sit down," I said, pointing to the kitchen table. "Mama, I have work to do." I said sit down. Something in my voice made him obey. He pulled out a chair and sat, looking like a guilty child caught stealing cookies. I remained standing. I wanted the high ground, literally and figuratively. "How long did you think you could do this?" I asked quietly. "Do what?" "Don't insult me, Marcus. I already know. The question is whether you're going to be man enough to admit it, or whether I'm going to have to lay out all the evidence I've gathered over the past 3 weeks. His face went from white to gray. You've been investigating. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I'm so old and senile I wouldn't realize my own son was stealing from me? I'm not stealing. I'm managing your finances like you asked me to." "Managing? Is that what you call it? Taking my Social Security and pension checks and putting them in an account I can't access. Giving me $100 a week out of the $2,400 I earn each month. Using my trust money to renovate your kitchen." He couldn't meet my eyes. "Where's the rest of my money going, Marcus? Because according to my calculations, you've taken over $40,000 from me in 3 years. What did you spend it on?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Explain it to me." He put his head in his hands. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, quietly, "We were in debt." "What?" "Brenda and we were drowning in debt. Credit cards, the second mortgage on this house, private school tuition for the kids. We were spending way more than we made and it caught up with us." "So you stole from your mother." "We didn't mean for it to be permanent. We thought we'd borrow it, get back on our feet, and pay you back. But then there were always more expenses, more emergencies, more things we needed." "Things you wanted," I corrected. "Not things you needed. Nobody needs a $30,000 kitchen renovation. Nobody needs a new car every 2 years. You wanted those things and you used my money to get them." I know it was wrong. But Mama, you don't understand the pressure. Brenda's friends all have these amazing houses. The kids' school, all the other parents are wealthy. We were trying to keep up. By stealing from a 70-year-old woman, living on Social Security. He flinched. "How did you think this would end, Marcus? Did you think I'd just die and you'd never have to face what you'd done?" "No, I was going to pay you back. I swear I was." "When? You've had 3 years. You've had $40,000 of my money. How much have you paid back? How much have you saved to return to me?" Silence. "That's what I thought. You had no intention of paying me back. You were just going to keep taking until there was nothing left." "That's not true." "Then show me the account. Right now. Show me where my money is. Show me your plan to pay me back. Show me anything that proves you weren't just stealing from me." He couldn't, because there was nothing to show. I pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm but firm. You're going to transfer every penny back into accounts I control. My Social Security and pension go back into my name immediately. The trust gets dissolved and whatever's left goes back to me. And you're going to pay back every dollar you took. Mama, I can't afford. I don't care what you can afford. You stole from me. You're paying it back. How am I supposed to come up with $40,000? The same way you spent it, a little at a time. You'll set up a payment plan, $500 a month until every penny is returned. That's going to take years. Yes, it is. Consider it a reminder of what you did every single month for the next 7 years. He looked up at me, his eyes wet with tears. Mama, please don't do this. We can work something out. We are working something out. My way. You don't get to negotiate after you've been caught stealing. What about Denise and Kenneth and Patricia? Are you going to tell them? They already know. His face went white again. What? I told them 3 weeks ago. They wanted me to call the police. Press charges. Have you arrested for elder financial abuse? You can't, Mama. I'd lose my job. I'd lose my accounting license. I'd go to jail. I know, and you deserve all of that. Then why haven't you called the police? I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, sacrificed for, loved with everything I had, and I felt something break inside me. Because despite everything you've done, you're still my son, and I still remember the 10-year-old boy who promised to take care of me at his father's funeral. I still remember the young man who worked so hard to make something of himself. I still remember the good in you, even if you've forgotten it. Tears rolled down his face. But Marcus, understand this. My mercy has limits. You're going to do exactly what I said. Transfer my money back. Pay me back every penny. And if you refuse or if you try to cheat me again, I will call the police. I will press charges. And I will watch you lose everything without a single tear. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really understand. This isn't just about money. This is about trust. This is about respect. This is about you looking at your elderly mother and seeing a resource to exploit rather than a person to honor. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Changed behavior is what matters. Can you change, Marcus? Can you become a man of integrity again? Or are you too far gone? I can change. I will change. We'll see. I stood up. You have until the end of this week to transfer my accounts back to my name. I want to see bank statements showing all my money is accessible to me. And I want the first payment of $500 by the end of the month. Okay. And Marcus, I'm moving out. His head shot up. What? I can't live here anymore. Not knowing what you did. Not trusting you. Denise is helping me find a small apartment. I'll be out by the end of the month. Mama, you don't have to leave. Yes, I do. For my own peace of mind. For my own dignity. I will not live under your roof as a charity case while you steal from me. I wasn't treating you like a charity case. You were giving me $100 a week out of my own $2,400 monthly income and calling it generosity. That's exactly what you were doing. He had no response to that. I walked toward the door, then turned back. One more thing. This stays between us for now. Denise, Kenneth, and Patricia know, but I don't want Brenda's family knowing. I don't want your children knowing. I don't want your friends and colleagues knowing. Not because I'm protecting you, but because I'm protecting your children. They don't deserve to suffer for your mistakes. Thank you, Mama. Don't thank me. Just do what's right for once. I left the kitchen and went to my room. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I'd confronted my son, set my boundaries, demanded my money back. But it didn't feel victorious. It felt heartbreaking. Because I'd raised that man. I taught him right from wrong. I'd modeled integrity and honesty. And somehow, he'd still turned into someone who could steal from his own mother. I called Denise. Mama, how did it go? He admitted it, everything. Good. Did you tell him you're moving out? Yes. Can you help me find a place? I already have. There's a nice senior apartment complex near me. One bedroom, affordable, safe. I put down a deposit this morning. Thank you, baby. Mama, are you okay? You sound tired. I'm exhausted, Denise. Tired in my soul. I know, but you did the right thing. You stood up for yourself. I keep thinking, where did I go wrong? How did I raise a son who could do this to me? You didn't go wrong, Mama. Marcus made his own choices. You taught him better. He just chose to ignore those lessons. After I hung up with Denise, I sat in my room and cried. Not loud, dramatic crying, just quiet tears of grief. Grief for the relationship I'd lost with my son. Grief for the trust that had been broken. Grief for the realization that sometimes the people we love most are capable of hurting us the deepest. That evening, Brenda knocked on my door. Mom, can I talk to you? I almost said no, but I opened the door. She stood there looking guilty and scared. Marcus told me about your conversation. I'm sure he did. I want you to know. I'm sorry. I knew what was happening was wrong. I should have stopped him. But you didn't. You benefited from it just like he did. I know, and I'm ashamed. Are you, or are you just ashamed you got caught? She looked down. Both, maybe. At least she was honest. We're going to pay you back, she said. Every penny, whatever it takes. I know you are, because if you don't, Marcus goes to jail. He told me, and I understand. We deserve this. Yes, you do. Are you really moving out? Yes. I wish you wouldn't. We can work this out. Stay here, save your money. Brenda, I can't live in a house with people who see me as a source of income rather than a person. My dignity is worth more than cheap rent. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. After she left, I started packing. Not everything. I'd need help moving the furniture. But my personal items, my clothes, my photos, my books. All the things that made up my life. As I packed, my phone rang. It was my son, Kenneth. Mama, Denise told me what happened. Are you okay? I'm managing. I can't believe Marcus did this to you. I'm so angry I can barely see straight. I was angry too. Now I'm just sad. Do you need help moving? I can take time off work. Denise is handling it, but thank you, baby. Mama, I want to help pay for your new place. First month's rent, deposit, whatever you need. You don't have to do that. I want to. You shouldn't have to use your own money because Marcus stole from you. Let your other children help. Thank you, Kenneth. That means a lot. Patricia called next with the same offer. Then Denise called back saying she'd already paid the first 3 months' rent. My children were taking care of me. The way children should. The way Marcus should have. Over the next week, things were tense in the house. Marcus transferred my accounts back to my name as promised. I checked every statement carefully. Everything was there that should be there. He made the first $500 payment. Brenda stopped talking to me except for polite necessities. The grandchildren noticed something was wrong, but nobody told them what. I felt like a stranger in that house, an unwelcome guest waiting to leave. Finally, moving day came. Kenneth and Patricia came with a truck. We loaded up my furniture and belongings. Marcus stood in the driveway, watching, looking miserable. Mama, please don't leave like this. Stay. We can rebuild trust. Trust is rebuilt through consistent changed behavior over time, Marcus, not through words. Maybe in a few years, after you've paid me back and shown me you've changed, we can rebuild. But not now. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. But love isn't enough when there's no respect. I got in Kenneth's truck and we drove away. I didn't look back. My new apartment was small but bright and clean. 1 bedroom, a living area, a little kitchen, a bathroom. It was mine, paid for with my money. Nobody could take it from me or use me because I lived there. Denise, Kenneth, and Patricia helped me unpack and set up. Mama, you're going to love it here, Denise said. The complex has activities, a community room, a garden. You'll make friends. It's a fresh start, Patricia added. That's what I need, I said. A fresh start. After my children left, I sat in my new living room, looking around at my little apartment. It wasn't much, but it was honest, clean mine. I thought about Marcus, about what he'd said. She'll never know. But I had known. And I'd done something about it. Some people might think I was too harsh, that I should have forgiven him and moved on. But forgiveness without accountability isn't forgiveness. It's enabling. And I'd enabled Marcus enough. Now he had to face the consequences of his actions. My phone buzzed with a text. From a number I didn't recognize. I opened it and my blood ran cold. It was a photo of a bank statement. But not one of mine. It was Marcus's personal account. And it showed a balance of $127,000. With a message underneath. You should ask your son where this money came from, because it's not just yours he's been stealing from. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I stared at that text message for a full minute, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. $127,000 in Marcus's personal account. Where had that come from? I'd accounted for the $40,000 he'd taken from me over 3 years, but this was 3 times that amount. And who had sent me this? Who else knew about Marcus's financial dealings? I called Denise immediately. Denise, I just got a strange text message. Someone sent me a screenshot of Marcus's bank account showing $127,000. Do you know anything about this? What? No, who sent it? I don't know. Unknown number. They said I should ask Marcus where the money came from because it's not just mine he's been stealing from. Mama, this sounds serious. Like potentially criminal serious. I know, but who would know about Marcus's accounts? And why would they send this to me anonymously? I don't know, but Mama, you need to find out. If Marcus has been stealing from other people, clients maybe, this is bigger than what he did to you. After I hung up with Denise, I sat there thinking. Marcus was an accountant. He handled finances for clients. He had access to their money, their accounts, their trust. If he'd been willing to steal from his own mother, would he steal from clients too? I looked at the text message again. The bank statement was dated just 2 days ago. I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Kenneth, who worked in banking. Kenneth, can you tell if this is real or fake? He called me back within 10 minutes. Mama, where did you get this? Someone sent it to me anonymously. Is it real? It looks real. The format matches this bank's statements. The account number is valid. Mama, if this is Marcus's account, he has a lot of money he hasn't accounted for. That's what I'm afraid of. What are you going to do? I'm going to ask him about it. Tomorrow, I need to see his reaction. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about the text message, about who might have sent it, about what Marcus might have done. The next morning, I called Marcus. Mama, is everything okay? Are you settling into the apartment? I need to see you. Today, can you come by? Sure. Is something wrong? We'll talk when you get here. He arrived at my apartment 2 hours later, looking nervous. What's this about, Mama? I showed him my phone, the screenshot of his bank statement. The color drained from his face. Where did you get this? Someone sent it to me, anonymously. They said I should ask you where this money came from. He sat down heavily on my couch, his hands shaking. Marcus, I'm going to ask you one time, and I want the truth. Where did that money come from? Silence. Marcus. I can't tell you. You can't tell me, or you won't tell me. Both. Mama, please just drop this. No, I will not drop this. My son has $127,000 in his bank account when he was supposedly so broke he had to steal from his mother. I want to know where it came from. If I tell you, it's going to make things worse. Worse than stealing from your mother. Worse than elder financial abuse. How could it possibly be worse? He put his head in his hands. Because it's not just your money. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I mean, I've been borrowing from other sources too. What sources? He didn't answer. Marcus, what sources? Client accounts, he whispered. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You've been stealing from your clients. Not stealing, borrowing. I always plan to pay it back. How much? I don't know exactly. How much? About $200,000 over the past 4 years. I couldn't breathe. $200,000. Marcus, that's embezzlement. That's a federal crime. You could go to prison for years. I know, don't you think I know that? Why do you think I've been so stressed? Why do you think I needed your money to keep up appearances? I was trying to pay back the client accounts before anyone noticed. And were you paying them back? Some, a little, but it was like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. Every time I paid some back, there was another emergency, another expense. I couldn't keep up. So you just kept stealing more. What else was I supposed to do? Be honest, tell the truth, face the consequences, anything but this. He was crying now, full-on sobbing. I'm sorry, Mama, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. It started small, just a few thousand to cover a shortfall. Then it became easier. One client here, another there. Old people who didn't check their statements carefully. People who trusted me. People like me, I said quietly. Yes, people like you. I felt sick. Who sent me that text message? Who knows about this? I don't know. Maybe someone at my firm. Maybe a client who noticed something wrong. Have you been caught? Not officially, not yet, but I think someone is investigating. My boss has been asking questions, wanting to review certain accounts. Marcus, you need to turn yourself in. What? No, I'll lose everything. You've already lost everything. Your integrity, your honor, your family's trust. Now you need to save whatever's left of your soul by doing the right thing. If I turn myself in, I go to prison. My kids lose their father. Brenda loses her husband. Everything falls apart. Everything has already fallen apart. You did that. Now you need to face it. He stood up, packing. I can't go to prison. Then what are you going to do? Wait until they arrest you. Wait until it's on the news and your children find out their father is a thief. I don't know. I need time to think. You're out of time, Marcus. Whoever sent me that text knows what you've done. They're going to expose you. It's just a matter of when. He grabbed his coat. I have to go. I need to figure this out. Marcus. But he was already out the door. I sat there in my quiet apartment, my head spinning. My son wasn't just a thief. He was an embezzler, a criminal who'd stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from vulnerable people. People who trusted him with their money, their futures, their security. Just like I had. I called Kenneth and told him everything. Mama, this is bad, really bad. If Marcus has been embezzling from clients, he's looking at serious federal charges. We're talking 10 years or more in prison. I know. What are you going to do? I don't know, he's my son, but what he's done, it's unforgivable. You need to protect yourself, Mama. Distance yourself from this. When it comes out, and it will come out, you don't want to be associated with it. He's my son, Kenneth. I can't just abandon him. He abandoned you when he stole from you. You don't owe him anything. After I hung up, I sat there thinking about the 10-year-old boy at his father's funeral, promising to take care of me. Where had that boy gone? How had he become this man? That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Mrs. Washington, a woman's voice I didn't recognize. Yes. My name is Sandra Chen. I'm a client of your son's, or I was until I discovered he'd been stealing from me. My heart sank. I'm so sorry. I sent you that text message, the bank statement. I thought you should know what kind of man your son really is. How did you find out? I'm 82 years old, Mrs. Washington, but I'm not stupid. I check my statements every month. I noticed discrepancies, money missing, transfers I didn't authorize. When I asked Marcus about it, he made excuses, said it was accounting errors, said he'd fix it. How much did he take from you? $47,000 from my retirement account, money I'd saved for 40 years. I felt tears running down my face. I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was doing this to other people. I found out he'd done it to you too. That's why I contacted you. I thought you deserved to know the full extent of his crimes. Have you gone to the police? Not yet. I've been consulting with an attorney. But yes, I'm pressing charges. And I'm not the only one. I've found 3 other clients he stole from. We're coordinating our complaints. Good, you should. He needs to face consequences. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. I know he's your son, but people need to know what he's done. You're right. Thank you for telling me. After she hung up, I sat there in the dark, crying. Not for Marcus, for his victims. For Sandra Chen, 82 years old, who'd lost $47,000 of her retirement savings. For the other victims I didn't even know about yet. For all the people my son had betrayed. I made a decision. I called Detective Rodriguez with the Financial Crimes Unit. Detective, my name is Claudette Washington. I need to report a crime. My son, Marcus Washington, has been embezzling from his clients. I have evidence and I have witness information. I'm listening, Mrs. Washington. I told him everything. About what Marcus had done to me, about Sandra Chen, about the $200,000 he'd admitted to stealing. Do you have documentation? I have bank statements. I have the names of other victims. I have his confession on record. I'd started recording conversations with Marcus after the first confrontation, just in case. I'll need you to come in and make a formal statement. I'll be there tomorrow morning. Mrs. Washington, I need to ask, are you sure you want to do this? This is your son. Once you file this complaint, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. What he's done is wrong. He needs to face consequences, and his victims deserve justice. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. After I hung up, I called my other children and told them what I'd done. Denise was supportive. You did the right thing, Mama. Marcus made his choices. Now he faces the consequences. Kenneth agreed. I hate that it's come to this, but you can't protect him from this. He committed crimes, serious crimes. Patricia was crying. I know he deserves it. I know he brought this on himself. But Mama, he's our brother. I know, baby. And that's why this hurts so much. But we can't let love for family blind us to justice. Marcus hurt people, vulnerable people who trusted him. They deserve justice more than he deserves protection. The next morning, I went to the police station and made a formal statement. I brought all my documentation, bank statements, recordings, Sandra Chen's contact information. Detective Rodriguez took it all very seriously. Mrs. Washington, based on what you've given me, we have enough to start an investigation and potentially bring charges. I want you to know this is going to become public. The media will likely cover it. Your son's name will be in the news. His firm will be involved. It's going to be messy. I understand. And you're prepared for that. No, I'm not prepared. I'll never be prepared to watch my son be arrested. But it's the right thing to do, so I'm doing it anyway. 2 days later, Marcus was arrested at his office. It was on the evening news. Local accountant arrested for embezzlement. I watched the footage of Marcus being led out of his building in handcuffs. My firstborn son, my baby boy. In handcuffs. Because he'd become a thief. Brenda called me, screaming, "How could you do this? How could you turn in your own son?" I didn't turn him in. He turned himself in when he decided to steal from vulnerable people. He was going to pay it all back. With what money? He was stealing more to cover what he'd already stolen. It was never going to end. You know that. His life is ruined. Our life is ruined. He ruined it himself. I just made sure his victims got justice. She hung up on me. The grandchildren called, crying, asking me why their daddy was in jail. That was the hardest part. Explaining to children why their father had done something wrong without destroying their image of him completely. Your daddy made bad choices, I told them. He took money that didn't belong to him, And when you do that, there are consequences. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It means he made mistakes and now he has to face them. Over the next few weeks, more victims came forward. The total amount Marcus had stolen was over $300,000 from 12 different clients. All elderly, all trusting, all vulnerable. Just like me. The media coverage was intense. Local news, newspapers, online articles. Accountant targeted elderly clients in embezzlement scheme. My other children rallied around me, making sure I was okay, protecting me from reporters who wanted comments. But I didn't hide. When reporters asked if I had anything to say, I said, "My son committed crimes. He hurt people who trusted him. I hope he uses his time in prison to reflect on what he's done and become a better man. And I hope his victims get the restitution they deserve." Sandra Chen called me after seeing me on the news. "Mrs. Washington, thank you for standing up, for doing the right thing even though it cost you. It was the least I could do. I'm just sorry it took me so long to see what he was doing. You saw it eventually. That's what matters." 3 months later, Marcus pleaded guilty to 12 counts of wire fraud and embezzlement. He was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. I attended the sentencing hearing. Marcus looked at me from across the courtroom, his eyes pleading. But I didn't look away. I didn't cry. I didn't give him the absolution he was seeking. He'd made his choices. Now he'd live with the consequences. After the hearing, several of his victims approached me. "Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for not protecting him. Thank you for choosing what was right over what was easy." And I realized something. I'd done the right thing. Not for Marcus, for his victims, for justice, for integrity. Marcus had said, "She'll never know." But I'd known. And I'd done something about it. That was the difference between us. He'd chosen deception. I'd chosen truth. He'd chosen theft. I'd chosen justice. He'd chosen to see people as resources. I'd chosen to see them as people. And in the end, truth always wins. Even when it breaks your heart. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. 8 months after Marcus was sentenced, I was sitting in my apartment on a Saturday morning, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper, when there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Brenda standing there with my 3 grandchildren, Marcus Jr., who was 17, Aaliyah, who was 14, and little Jordan, who was 9. I hadn't seen them since Marcus went to prison. Brenda had cut off all contact, telling the children I was the reason their father was in jail. I opened the door slowly. "Brenda, children." "Grandma," Jordan broke free from Brenda's hand and hugged me tight. "I missed you so much." I held him close, tears already forming. "I missed you too, baby." Aaliyah and Marcus Jr. stood behind their mother, looking uncomfortable but not hostile. "Can we come in?" Brenda asked. Her voice wasn't friendly, but it wasn't angry either, just tired. "Of course." They filed into my small living room. The kids sat on the couch. Brenda remained standing. "I'll make this quick," Brenda said. "I owe you an apology." I blinked, surprised. "You do?" "Yes, I blamed you for Marcus going to prison. I told the kids you were the one who turned him in, that you destroyed our family. But," she paused, swallowing hard, "but I was wrong." "What changed your mind?" "Marcus did. He's been writing letters to me, to the kids. He finally told us the whole truth, everything he did, all the people he stole from, how much money he took, and he said..." She stopped, wiping her eyes. "He said you were the only one with enough courage to stop him, that if you hadn't turned him in, he would have kept stealing until he got caught anyway, and it would have been worse." I sat down slowly. "He said that?" "Yes, he said he spent his whole life taking advantage of your love, your trust, your goodness, and you were the only one who loved him enough to make him face consequences." Marcus Jr. spoke up. "Grandma, Dad also told us what he did to you, how he stole your money, how he treated you. I'm so sorry, we all are." Aaliyah nodded, tears running down her face. "We thought you were mean. We thought you didn't love Dad, but you were just doing what was right." "Come here, Bobbies," I said, opening my arms. All 3 grandchildren came to me, and we held each other, crying. Brenda stood there watching, tears streaming down her face too. "There's something else," Brenda said after a moment. "I'm selling the house." "What?" "I can't afford it anymore. Without Marcus's income, and with all the legal fees and restitution payments, I'm drowning in debt. The house is going into foreclosure if I don't sell it first." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. It's what we deserve. We lived beyond our means for years, stealing from you and others to fund a lifestyle we couldn't afford. Now we're facing reality." "Where will you go?" "I found a small apartment, 3 bedrooms, not in the best neighborhood, but it's clean and safe. The kids will have to change schools, we'll have to adjust, but we'll survive." She sat down on the chair across from me. "Mrs. Washington, Claudette, I need to tell you something else. I was part of it. Maybe not the actual stealing, but I knew. Deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I knew we were spending more than Marcus made. I knew the money had to be coming from somewhere, but I didn't ask questions because I didn't want to know the answers." "That's honest," I said. "I was complicit, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry we stole from you. I'm sorry we took advantage of your love. I'm sorry I turned your grandchildren against you. I'm sorry for all of it." "I appreciate you saying that." "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know." I looked at this woman, my daughter-in-law who'd helped steal from me, who'd turned my grandchildren against me, who'd called me screaming when Marcus was arrested. And I made a choice. "I forgive you, Brenda." She looked up shocked. "What?" "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I'm choosing to. Because holding on to anger and resentment only hurts me. And because I want a relationship with my grandchildren, and that requires having some kind of peace with you." She broke down completely, sobbing. The children gathered around her, comforting her. After she composed herself, she said, "Thank you, that means more than you know." "But Brenda, forgiveness doesn't mean I'm going to enable you the way I enabled Marcus. You're going to have to rebuild your life on your own. I'm not giving you money. I'm not paying your bills. I'm not bailing you out." "I understand. I wouldn't want you to. I need to learn to stand on my own feet, for myself and for my kids." "Good, that's the right attitude." We spent the next hour talking, really talking, about everything that had happened, about the pain, the betrayal, the consequences. The children asked questions. "Grandma, do you still love Dad?" Jordan asked. "Yes, baby, I'll always love him. He's my son. But I don't like what he did. I don't approve of his choices. And I won't pretend his actions were okay just because I love him." "Are you going to visit him in prison?" Aaliyah asked. I'd been thinking about that question for months. "I don't know yet. Maybe. Someday. When I'm ready. When he's done the work to genuinely change, not just say he's sorry." "He writes to us every week," Marcus Jr. said. "He says he's been going to classes in prison. Financial ethics. Addiction recovery. He says stealing was like an addiction. He's trying to understand why he did what he did." "That's good. I hope he really is changing." "Will you ever trust him again?" Marcus Jr. asked. "I don't know, sweetheart. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. He destroyed mine. Rebuilding it will take a very long time. And it has to be earned through consistent, changed behavior, not just words." After they left, I sat in my quiet apartment thinking about forgiveness. I'd forgiven Brenda. I'd forgiven Marcus, or at least I was working on it. But forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean pretending it never happened. It didn't mean going back to the way things were. It meant releasing the poison of bitterness so it wouldn't destroy me. It meant choosing peace over revenge. It meant acknowledging that people can change, even if they haven't yet. A few days later, I got a letter from Marcus. I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. His handwriting was the same as always, but the words were different. "Dear Mama, I don't know if you'll read this. I wouldn't blame you if you threw it away without opening it, but I'm writing it anyway because I need to say things I should have said months ago. You were right about everything. I was a thief, a liar, a man who betrayed everyone who trusted him, especially you. I spent years telling myself I was just borrowing, that I'd pay it back, that it wasn't really stealing if I intended to return it. But those were lies I told myself to avoid facing what I really was, a criminal who preyed on vulnerable people. People like you, Mama. People who worked hard their whole lives and saved a little money for their old age. People who trusted me to help them, and I robbed them instead. I stole from you, my own mother, and I convinced myself it was okay because you lived in my house, ate my food, benefited from my generosity. But it was your money paying for all of it. Your money I was spending while giving you an allowance like you were a child. The shame of that hits me every day. I've spent 8 months in prison now, and I've had a lot of time to really think about who I became and how I got here. I've been going to programs, talking to counselors, working through my issues with money, status, pride, and the need to appear successful. I grew up watching you struggle, Mama, working 3 jobs, wearing the same clothes for years, making sacrifices so we could have things, and I promised myself I'd never struggle like that. I'd be successful, wealthy, comfortable. But somewhere along the way, being comfortable wasn't enough. I wanted more. I wanted what other people had. I wanted to keep up with Brenda's friends and their million-dollar houses. I wanted to drive luxury cars and take expensive vacations and send my kids to elite schools. And when my legitimate income couldn't support that lifestyle, instead of adjusting my lifestyle, I started stealing. First from you, then from clients, each time telling myself it was temporary, each time planning to pay it back, each time digging myself deeper. You saved me, Mama. By turning me in, you saved me. If you hadn't stopped me, I would have kept going until I'd stolen $1 million, until I'd ruined dozens of lives, until the consequences were even worse. You loved me enough to let me fall, to let me face what I'd done, to choose justice over protecting me. That took more courage than I've ever had. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry for stealing from you. I'm sorry for disrespecting you. I'm sorry for thinking you were too old and too trusting to notice what I was doing. I'm sorry for breaking your heart. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to visit me. I don't expect anything from you ever again. But I want you to know, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to become the man you raised me to be. The man Dad would have been proud of. The man who honors his mother instead of exploiting her. It's too late to undo what I did, but it's not too late to change who I am. I love you, Mama, and I'm so sorry. Marcus. I read that letter 3 times. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt something shift in my heart. Not forgiveness, not yet, not completely. But hope. Hope that my son might actually change, that he might use this terrible experience to become better instead of bitter. I pulled out a piece of paper and began writing a response. Dear Marcus, I received your letter. Thank you for your honesty. You were right, I almost didn't open it. I've been protecting my heart, keeping walls up, not wanting to be hurt again. But I read it, and I heard you. I want you to know that I forgive you, not because what you did was okay. It wasn't. Not because the pain is gone. It isn't. But because holding on to anger is poisoning me, and I choose to let it go. Forgiving you doesn't mean I trust you. Trust has to be earned, and that will take years of consistent changed behavior. It doesn't mean our relationship goes back to what it was. That relationship died when you betrayed me. If we build a new relationship, it will be different, with boundaries, with honesty, with mutual respect. I'm proud of you for taking responsibility, for going to programs, for facing what you did instead of making excuses. That's the first step toward real change. But words are easy, Marcus. The real test is what you do when you get out of prison, when you're faced with financial pressure again, when you're tempted to take shortcuts again, when life gets hard again. That's when we'll see if you've really changed. I'm not ready to visit you yet. Maybe someday. But not now. I need more time to heal. I need to see sustained change from you before I can be in the same room with you. But I am praying for you, every day, that you'll become the man your father raised you to be. The man I know you can be if you choose integrity over convenience. Your children came to see me. They're good kids, Marcus. Despite everything, they still love you. Don't waste this chance to be a better father to them than you've been. I love you. I always will. You're my son. But love doesn't mean accepting unacceptable behavior. It means wanting what's best for you, even when that's painful. What's best for you right now is facing your consequences and doing the hard work of changing from the inside out. I believe you can do it. Your mother, Claudette. I mailed that letter the next day. Over the following months, Marcus and I exchanged occasional letters. He told me about the programs he was taking, the progress he was making, the realizations he was having about why he'd made the choices he made. I told him about my life, about reconnecting with his children, about the senior activities at my apartment complex, about the peace I'd found in my little home. We were building something new, slowly, carefully. Not the relationship we'd had before, that was gone forever. But something different, something more honest. A year after Marcus went to prison, I attended a victim impact event where several of the people he'd stolen from shared their stories. Sandra Chen spoke about losing her retirement savings and having to go back to work at 82. A man named James Rodriguez talked about how the theft had affected his medical care. He'd had to delay necessary surgery because the money was gone. A woman named Patricia Owens cried as she described how the betrayal had made her unable to trust anyone, even her own family. Each story broke my heart. Because my son had done this, my baby boy had caused this pain. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up. My name is Claudette Washington. Marcus Washington is my son. The room went quiet. I'm here to say that I'm sorry. I'm sorry my son did this to you. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I raised someone capable of such betrayal. It's not your fault, Sandra Chen called out. Maybe not, but I still feel responsible. I wonder what I could have done differently. What lessons I failed to teach. What values I didn't instill. You taught him right from wrong, Patricia Owens said. He chose to ignore those lessons. That's on him, not you. Thank you for saying that, but I also want you to know I turned him in. I'm the one who went to the police, because what he did was wrong, and you all deserved justice more than he deserved protection. Several people started clapping. Thank you, James Rodriguez said, for doing the right thing even though it cost you. It did cost me. It cost me my relationship with my son, at least temporarily. It cost me my relationship with my grandchildren for months. It cost me sleep and peace and the ability to trust my own judgment. But it was still the right thing to do. After the event, several of Marcus's victims approached me. They thanked me. They hugged me. They told me they didn't blame me for what Marcus had done. You're a victim too, Sandra Chen said. He stole from you first, and for longer, you have just as much right to be angry as any of us. I was angry. I'm still working through it, but I'm trying to choose healing over bitterness. That's all any of us can do. 2 years into Marcus's sentence, Brenda brought the children to visit me for Thanksgiving. She'd been true to her word, working hard, living within her means, raising the kids in that small apartment. Marcus Jr. was in college now on a full academic scholarship. Aaliyah was thriving in high school, despite the change in schools. Jordan was doing well in elementary school, more resilient than any of us had expected. They're good kids, I told Brenda as we prepared dinner together. They are, better than Marcus and I deserved, honestly. You're doing a good job with them. I'm trying, it's hard doing it alone, but I'm learning to budget, learning to say no, learning to live without keeping up with other people. Those are valuable lessons. I wish I'd learned them sooner, before we destroyed so many lives. You can't change the past, Brenda. You can only do better going forward. That's what I'm trying to do. After dinner, as we cleaned up, Aaliyah came into the kitchen. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Of course, baby." "Do you think Dad has really changed? Or is he just saying what people want to hear?" I thought about that question carefully. I think he's trying to change. I think he's doing the work. But real change takes time to prove itself. We won't really know if he's changed until he's out of prison and facing real temptations again. Are you going to give him another chance? If he earns it, if he shows me through years of consistent behavior that he's different. But Aaliyah, giving someone another chance doesn't mean pretending the past didn't happen. It means acknowledging it, learning from it, and building something new with appropriate boundaries. What kind of boundaries? Like, I'll never give your father access to my money again. I'll never live in his house again. I'll never put myself in a position where I'm dependent on him. I can love him and have a relationship with him without being vulnerable to his weaknesses. That makes sense. Aaliyah, you're going to have to decide for yourself what kind of relationship you want with your father. You don't have to forgive him just because I have. You don't have to trust him just because he's your dad. You get to set your own boundaries based on your own healing journey. Thank you, Grandma, for being honest with me, for treating me like I'm old enough to understand. You are old enough. You're 14. You've been through something traumatic. You deserve honesty, not platitudes. 3 years into Marcus's sentence, he was moved to a minimum security facility for good behavior. He was eligible for early release programs, halfway houses, work release. He wrote asking if I'd support his application for early release. I thought about it for weeks. Finally, I wrote back, "Marcus, I'll support your application on one condition. You have a real plan for when you get out. Not just promises, a real detailed plan. Where will you live? How will you support yourself? How will you make restitution to your victims? How will you rebuild trust with your family? What safeguards will you put in place to ensure you never steal again? If you can answer these questions honestly and thoroughly, I'll write a letter supporting your early release. If you can't, you're not ready. Your mother." He responded with a 10-page letter detailing his plans. He'd enrolled in a program for white-collar offenders that helped them reintegrate into society. He'd lined up a job, not in accounting. He'd lost his license permanently, but in financial literacy education, teaching others how to manage money responsibly. He'd set up automatic payments to his victims from his future paychecks. He'd be paying restitution for the next 20 years. He'd found a small room to rent. He'd committed to ongoing therapy. He'd created a detailed budget that showed how he'd live on a modest income. He'd thought through what triggers might tempt him to steal again and created accountability systems to prevent it. It was thorough, honest, realistic. I wrote the letter of support. 6 months later, Marcus was released to a halfway house. I didn't visit right away. I wanted to see how he'd do in the real world before I put myself in his presence. Brenda and the kids visited. They reported back that he seemed different, humbler, more genuine. But I waited. I waited 6 months. 6 months of watching him work his job, make his restitution payments, attend his therapy, stay in the halfway house without incident. 6 months of consistent behavior. Then, finally, I agreed to meet him. We met at a park, neutral territory, public, safe. I hadn't seen him in 3.5 years. He looked older, grayer, thinner, tired. But his eyes looked different, clearer, more honest. "Hi, Mama." "Hello, Marcus." We sat on a bench, both nervous. "Thank you for coming," he said. I almost didn't. "I know, I wouldn't have blamed you." We sat in silence for a moment. "I've been watching you," I said, "from a distance, through Brenda and the kids, seeing what you're doing. And it looks like you're really trying." I am every day. It's not easy, living on minimum wage, having people recognize me from the news, facing what I did, but I'm doing it. Good. Mama, I know I can't undo what I did. I can't give you back the years of trust I destroyed. I can't erase the pain I caused. But I want you to know, I'm not the same person who stole from you. Time will tell. I know, and I'm willing to spend however long it takes proving it to you. Marcus, I need you to understand something. We can rebuild a relationship, but it will never be what it was. I will never trust you with my finances. I will never live with you again. I will never put myself in a vulnerable position with you. Those boundaries are permanent. I understand, and I accept that. I'm just grateful you're willing to try it all. I'm willing to try because you're my son, because I see genuine change in you, because I believe in second chances. But Marcus, there are no third chances. If you ever steal again, if you ever betray anyone's trust again, we're done. Forever. I understand, Mama, and I promise you I will never steal again. I've seen what it costs, not just legally, but morally, spiritually, relationally. The price is too high. We talked for an hour. About his journey, his realizations, his regrets. About my journey, my healing, my forgiveness. When it was time to leave, he asked, "Can I hug you?" I hesitated, then nodded. He hugged me carefully, like he was afraid I might break. And I hugged him back. Not with the trust and abandon of before, but with cautious hope. "I love you, Mama," he whispered. "I love you too, baby. Now go prove to me you've changed." I will, every day for the rest of my life. As I drove home from that meeting, I thought about everything that had happened. Marcus had said, "She'll never know." But I had known. And I'd done something about it. I'd set boundaries. I'd demanded accountability. I'd chosen justice over comfort. And in doing so, I'd saved my son. Not from prison. He'd needed to go to prison. But from himself, from a life of continued crime, from becoming someone beyond redemption. By refusing to enable him, by forcing him to face consequences, I'd given him the opportunity to change. And he'd taken it. Not perfectly, not completely, but genuinely. That evening, as I sat in my quiet apartment, I received a text from Marcus. Just 2 words, "Thank you." I typed back, "For what?" His response came quickly. For loving me enough to make me face what I'd become, for not protecting me from consequences, for showing me that real love demands real change. I finally understand what you did, and I'm grateful. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, "You're welcome, now keep going, keep changing, keep growing, make your father proud." I will, I promise. I set down my phone and looked around my small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine, paid for with my money, safe, secure. I'd lost a lot in this journey. Money, trust, years of relationship with my son. But I'd gained something too. I'd gained my dignity, my self-respect, my voice. I'd learned that love without boundaries is enabling. I'd learned that protecting people from consequences doesn't help them, it hurts them. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone fall so they can learn to stand. Marcus had thought I'd never know. But I'd known. And I'd been brave enough to act on that knowledge. That's the difference between being old and being wise. Old might mean slowing down physically, but wise means understanding when to be gentle and when to be firm, when to forgive and when to hold accountable, when to protect and when to let go. I was 73 years old now, and I was both old and wise. My son had learned that lesson the hard way, and I hoped he'd never forget it. Because the next time someone tried to take advantage of Claudette Washington, they'd face the same reality Marcus had. She would know, and she would act. Every single time. If this story touched you, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more emotional stories like this. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Somewhere out there, I might be reading.